Hello everyone, welcome into our latest live broadcast. I was not originally planning to schedule a show for today. In fact, if you watched yesterday's show, I said I wouldn't be doing a show today, except, well, something arrived in the mail that I cannot wait to get my hands on, and I wanted to share the full first experience and unboxing with you with nothing prepared, just to see how intuitive the unit is, what it looks like, and first genuine reactions. Today, it's the 30th of April, 2025. It is Wednesday. Thank you guys for joining me today. As a reminder, our friend Doug Betts from Live Windows Training with Doug Betts will be joining us tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Tech on Tech. We're going to talk tech with a little bit of tech talk, with some tech talk thrown in, and maybe, just maybe, a little bit extra tech talk. So please join us in our live show tomorrow, because we love having questions from you guys and interactions with our live chat. So you can't say you weren't warned. It's tomorrow, Thursday at 1 p.m. Arizona time. That's Mountain Standard Time, which is currently the same as Pacific Time, so you can figure it out in your time zone. And if you're new here, please don't miss out on our live chat. We'd love to have you in there. Please join us and interact with us. Thank you to all of our members and friends that make this channel continue to exist, especially with the number of videos we're able to make with their contributions and support. Today's video was brought to you by our viewers, and we can't thank them enough. Specifically, our friends like Mark Gaines and Phil Stodd, our friends like Charlie Purdy, our friend Buster, our friends Frankie B, and oh my gosh, there's way too many to name. But the contributions, whether they're super chats or Amazon gift cards or memberships, that money gets funneled back into the channel, and that enables me to then buy things I'm genuinely interested in. So a few days ago, I showed you a device. It's a Remote KVM, this little guy right here. This is the Jet KVM, which I was enthralled with the day I got it, and the way it worked. I was just enthralled. Well, now that I've had it for a couple days, the cracks are showing. And there's a few issues with it, enough so that I'm going to make a separate video follow-up on this. These products that I'm showing you today, they're a brand new kind of remote access that doesn't require any software. Essentially, this whole unit replaces your monitor. I want to be very clear. This is intended for remote access, not temporary remote access. If you want Windows running and sometimes want access to your computer, just use remote software loaded into Windows. Because these devices we're talking about are basically remoting, they're transmitting the video output of the computer into your browser. Because you already have a browser, you don't need software on one side. And because this device itself functions the way it does, you don't need software on. I'm going to use this machine to remote into, by the way. That's why you may not be aware of that, because I didn't tell you. This machine is the one we're going to remote into. And the only thing I have plugged into this machine is its network access, because if I want to access the network with this machine, it needs to have network access. And if I want to access the computer remotely using this box, then this box also needs network access. Okay? But what I don't need on here is I don't need a monitor, I don't need a keyboard, and I don't need a mouse, because this is going to connect into USB. That's going to provide keyboard and mouse to the computer. It emulates a real keyboard and mouse. It also doubles as power for this. Some of these earlier units require a separate power supply, which there's pros and cons to that, but for me it's a con because I don't want another cable. And then there's just an HDMI cable. And that's all there is. There's no software to install on the receiving computer. There's no software to install on the sending computer or the host in the remote. No software installation. But this replaces your monitor. So when we're looking at these, they're all universally the same. They're not intended to replace remote software. If you want remote software because you want to be able to use, to have a monitor on this, and occasionally remote into it, then just use remote software. UltraViewer and RustDesk, there's a few great free ones. And then for me as a service technician, Instant House Call is definitely the cream of the crop for service work. All right, so we just want you to be prepared and understand what the purpose of this is. And so if you have a computer that you're constantly remoting into and you don't need a monitor on it because you're never there, that's what this is for. Things like servers, or what we call headless units. A headless unit is a laptop without a screen. It's a computer without a monitor. If you ever see those data centers that they ever show you on TV, or you see them on YouTube where they're walking through a data center, you see towers of boxes with lights flashing like some kind of sci-fi show, but you don't see any monitors, do you? I don't. Well, they're using industrial KVMs. They cost thousands of dollars, and they're a little bit more complex to set up. We're living in a time right now where they have shrunken the size of these KVMs down to this or similar, right? Because we're gonna unbox what's in this white box here, which is a competitor to this. But this is so new. This technology is so new that it's not done yet. So right now, and the reason I'm making this video is to show you what's coming. The problems I'm having with this are what come with the par for the course on a first generation project funded by Kickstarter. All right. Now this is an alternative to that. They all cost around $69 to $79. Again, the cheapest, like Pi KVM, one based on a Raspberry Pi, is $300, and that was considered a bargain. $300. Now there's even a nano KVM, which again, that's the third unit we're waiting to receive. That's a little bit more home lab-ish. But if it does the job I need it to do, it'll be interesting to see the differences between them. I can tell you that the Jet KVM is built like a brick. And feeling the weight of this box, this is also feeling like it's made of just solid metal. The nano KVM is made from a 3D printed material. It just looks like it's a, what does it remind me of? Like a Tamagotchi? No, not a Tamagotchi. There was a little digital game you could play. It was like a little square cube with buttons on it back in the 90s. I can't remember what that was called. But anyway, kind of it looks and feels, I imagine, I haven't received one, but I think it's probably gonna feel like it looks like a toy. These, you don't want to drop them on your toe. You could break your toe. Okay. I have no doubt the issues with this, and whatever issues with this, there will be some, I have no doubt. This one, the only way I could get it was a pre-order. So these are not even available for sale yet, like officially. What am I talking about? Okay, so this is Jet KVM. If you're interested in learning more about it, we've already made a video on the Jet KVM. And if I go to my close-up camera, let's see if I can do this. There's a close-up of the Jet KVM. Okay, just so you have a good vision of that. Now this is exactly how this was sent to me. Just a white box. Remember, this is a pre-order. This is not available in retail chains yet. So what's in the box? That's what we want to know. Let me just set this right here for a moment, and let's go over here, and I will show you. We'll jump to, I'll show you the way I learned about it, which is right here. I'm going to play this video for you. Let's get that ready, and we'll go over here to window capture. Here we go. I'll jump over here, hit play. You're not going to hear any audio on this, so the closed captioning's on there. That's it. That's my introduction. Now, to order it, you would go to this website here, GLINet. Now, we've showcased many of GLINet portable routers. I really like them a lot. Those little tiny routers that you can travel with. You can even have a SIM card in them and use them with your own personal internet access when you travel, so you don't have to worry about the security and privacy of a Wi-Fi that the hotel provides, or etc. And even if you do want to pay for or get, usually you get charged for Wi-Fi access at a hotel these days, especially in Las Vegas, per device. You could just set this to be your device and then have it wirelessly transmit that internet access to everything in your hotel room that you want access to. So you only have to pay for one unit and use it on as many units as you want. So that's the company that makes the routers. This is not a router, but it's the same company with a remote KVM over internet. Sometimes they're called web KVMs. Sometimes they're called, most likely, IP KVMs, keyboard, video, mouse. And it says pre-order the Comet now. So this is the $79 Comet. That's what we have in this white box. And this is the ATX board that you can attach inside of your desktop PC if you want to control power on and off as though you were in front of it pushing a switch versus Wake on LAN. I don't want that because, quite frankly, I don't want remote access to a desktop. I want remote access to mini PCs and remote desktop, any kind of computer, laptop. So universally, this box works on anything, mini PC, laptop, pre-built or custom-built computer. This, on the other hand, that board is only for custom-built computers or pre-built desktops. So it limits its functionality. I'm not paying extra for that. I don't need it. But for a more permanent solution, that's an option. Somehow, clicked a button here. Go back to where I was. Scrolling down, this is the pre-order. I don't know if this will be, they're saying it's going to be $89 retail when it comes out. So if you pre-order, you save $10. Free shipping, earliest delivery is going to be mid-May. I just got mine today and I ordered it 4 weeks ago. And of course, it may not be available in certain countries or regions. Read the details. But GLINet is a reputable company. They've been around for quite some time, and everything they do is open source. And you can read more about it here and how it all works. And that's what we're looking at today. And I might just need, oh, by the way, there's a bunch of features. There's something called the FingerBot, which is a mechanical arm that presses your PC power button. A mechanical arm. So they're all doing this, by the way. This isn't ready yet, but you can click Notify Me, and you can use that to push a switch on the surge protector, I guess. You just have to make sure that this device is powered separately, that you don't shut this down or you'll lose access to it. But yeah, because that'll be one more cable for power if you choose to do it that way. And there's stuff about coding and productivity and a little story behind the unit. We're not going to get into all that. They've got some video reviews on it from Greg Salazar from Bitwit and from other familiar names here on YouTube. And I'm not sure if they're showing you the critical part of what people are saying, because if we come back up here and just do a YouTube search for GLINet Comet, you can see that this creator says, yeah, it's not done yet. Well, what did you expect? Of course it's not done yet. And a few other videos. So I'm clearly not the first, but I couldn't have reviewed this because I just got it minutes ago in the mail. Just showed up. That's why I didn't want to waste any time on this, because I'm curious, now that I see the cracks in this development so far, I still don't regret purchasing this. This thing's awesome. But it's got to be awesomer when they get it corrected. All right, so we'll talk about that. That'll be a separate video again. This is the GLINet Comet, and this is how it arrived as a pre-sale item. They obviously don't have the retail packaging ready yet. And this is a great idea, I think, for a company to introduce a product to those that have the mindset, that want to be the pioneers, that want to be first, especially when it's a brand new technology. So if I've already had one of these for a few years, and now this company comes out and says, you should buy ours 2 or 3 years later, why would I? But this is still in development, this is still in development. And things like the Pi KVM or the Nano KVM, those will always be in development. Those are never, as far as I'm concerned, they're never finished products. They're open source home lab sort of ongoing experiments, whereas these are intended to be permanent solutions when they get to polishing. What we've got here are workable units that may not function 100%, and knowing that, and to get it early, because I don't have anything else that can get into a BIOS remotely, that's my issue. I want to be able to set any computer on this bench, go upstairs on my laptop, and do the updates, and watch how long it takes, for Windows 24 H2 to upgrade. Well, I'm just opening other browser tabs that I'd be doing upstairs anyway. So I can reboot the machine, I can turn on, secure boot features in the BIOS, I can update BIOSes, I can do everything as though I was downstairs without having to go up and down the stairs. And then when that unit's done, it gets set aside, the next unit comes on, and I do the same thing, and no two units are alike. So I know I have a very unique use case scenario for this. I don't know if this would be beneficial to you, but I want you to know they exist. They've existed for a long time, but they've always been, for corporations, way too expensive for the average person to buy. Now, I cannot get over how tiny they are, how inexpensive they are, and at least in the case of the Jet KVM, how easy it was to set up and use it. How will the Comet compare? Are you ready to find out? Special thanks to Mara, of course, who set up. I need to change video resolution. The current resolution is 3840 by 21. YouTube is punishing me. They're scolding me. What have I done? It looks like maybe when we set the video up, it carried over resolution from yesterday. Okay, so we'll have Mara take a look at that and readjust. But keep an eye on it, because going back and forth between StreamYard and YouTube, there are some limitations on the broadcast. So in order for me to fix this, I would have to shut the whole video down and start over. So we're going to just leave everything as it is. I'm assuming everybody can see and hear me okay. I want to make sure before I continue, because I just noticed that. Dustin Fuller says hello. There's Eddie Casanova and Zub-Zero. Jose Lopez and Mark Gaines join us, along with Old Man 55 and Doman 2000. Let's see, Alaj Depej renews membership, now a member for 28 months. Thank you for that, Alaj. Darren Gilholm saying hello, along with Mecca Cameron. Brad Ravel says hello. Gil Garcia joining us. Frank Jimmy says hello. Marsman 50 says it looks okay to me. Good, good. I'm glad the stream is. I don't know what resolution we're in. We might be at 720. We are all at 4K on this side of things, but it may be the YouTube studio carried over resolution settings from StreamYard, and StreamYard yesterday put us at 720, even though I should be at 1080. So we have to fix it on two sides. So we'll get to that. That's coming. In the meantime, one problem at a time. Let's see. Doman 2000 says, yeah, no problem with video. It shows 1440p. Oh, good. Okay, so we're not at 720. That's something. And David Herzog confirms that the sound and video are great. Our friend Planet Cryos, who is John Lewis in the chat room. No, that's not John Lewis. That's not right at all. John Lewis is in Brazil. In Jason Lewis? Is that why I'm confused? Is Planet Cryos? I apologize, guys. It's the Lewises. Uh-oh, I see Mara coming down the stairs.
Yeah, my apologies. It's set to 14. It looks good. It looks great.
That had to change because of StreamYard.
Correct.
So we just have to watch that, because Mara sets, that's her job.
Yeah.
And she'll never let it happen
I'll
again.
never let it happen again.
No dinner tonight for you.
Oh, great. Guess I'll just starve.
Yeah, she won't eat the 3 bird seeds she normally has daily.
Onions.
I mean, eating like a bird looks like a pig to you.
Sorry, y'all, but it does look good. So.
Are you making your onions today?
Yeah.
Well, chop, chop.
I thought we were taking the day off. So.
Yeah, well, so did I. But somebody had to go and check the mail. That's your fault.
I didn't mean to. You know.
I'm just blaming you for everything today. No, I'm super excited this came, obviously. That's why we're doing the video. Let me get back over to the close-up, and I'm going to show you what I got here. I'm going to open this up, and we've got this little shrink-wrapped box. A couple cables. That's all she gets. HDMI and USB. That's all there is. No documentation, nor should there be. Like I said, it's a pre-order project, so you should know if you're going to pre-order something that's not quite ready for prime time, what to expect to avoid any disappointment. So the USB cable is C to C. That bothers me because what if I'm plugging in a mini computer that doesn't have a C? I'm sad that I don't have an adapter. Maybe there's something else in the box, but I can't imagine with the box being that small. This should be HDMI, and it is. And is it full-size HDMI? Because on the Jet KVM, it's mini HDMI. But the cable is mini on this side to full-size on the other side. And the USB cable, they give you two. One USB-C to C, one USB-C to A. Let's see, I'm going to take these dust covers off of here. Come on. Wow. Okay, that's a full-size HDMI on that side. And this looks like just a good old-fashioned HDMI cable. All right. Well, I suppose this unit's bigger, so they likely have room for the larger connector. You can see here, there's really no room. Well, I suppose they could have fit it out. Not sure why they did that. Maybe there's still the connector on the inside's physically larger. I don't know. I don't care. I just need this to be C to A because not everybody's going to have C on the back of the computer, but everybody has A. See what I'm saying? So the default should have been C to A. Okay, let's get this unwrapped. Oh, good. There's more tape. How to open box 101 with CareyHolzman. Step 1, acquire box. Step 2, cut box. Step 3, open box. We hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Wait, what? Okay, so they taped the bottom because they didn't want you to open it from that side. I guess I didn't need to cut the box anyway. All right, let's open this bad boy up and see what we got in here. We got a little card, connect with GLINet. Got some documentation. Oh, this is a bit smaller than I thought it would be. It's quite smaller than the box. Still about twice the size of one of those, but still. Let's see. Okay. Just to give you a side-by-side. Now this has a screen on it so you can read the IP address that it gets from your router that you type into your browser on the computer you want to be accessing from. So I don't know how you're going to find it on here with no screen. It looks like we have a power button or a reset. It looks like power. We have a type A USB here. We have full-size HDMI and our USB-C. So those are clearly going to be inputs, right? So that's going to be connecting to this computer, and this video cable is going to be connecting to this computer. Now I can just tell you that logically by looking at it. I don't need to read instructions for that. Now there's another USB here type A. I'm not sure what that's for yet. And then on the side, we have our Ethernet plug because we have to put this on the network. And then we have a separate USB-C style power. So if you're not getting enough power from the computer to power this, or if you want to be able to turn the computer off and on, this needs to stay on. So then you'd have to run basically like a cell phone charger. Just plug it in. You don't need a special adapter for it. However, it does not include it. So that would be something sold separately, apparently. Or wait a minute, there's still more in the box. Hold on. Let me set that there, because when I'm looking in the box, we've only uncovered the top half. There's a second floor. Let's go down into the basement and see what's in there. Oh, we got some more cables. Good, good, good. Now, I don't know why we have black cables and white cables, but it's all good. This is a type C to type A. This is what I was complaining about a minute ago, so we're good there. And this one is just a regular old Ethernet cable that's flat. So I don't need that. You know what? I'm going to put that back in here. So what I'm guessing is what they've given the black cable for is you could plug this into any USB-C charger or adapter to provide power. But they don't give you the adapter. They only give you the cable for some reason. Okay, that's fine. I mean, that's cool. It's all cool. So I'm going to just wrap that back up because, quite frankly, this is not how I would have packaged it. And I would not have included black and white cables. Pick a color. But minor, very minor nitpick there. Let's face it, I can buy my own cables. They're really inexpensive on Amazon in any color I want. The idea is that, you know, if I just bought this product, I shouldn't have to buy more to make it work, in my opinion. I'm going to just set all that over here. We'll get rid of this, and we'll get rid of that. Just set it down here. Okay, so in this case, we're going to take the type C cable and plug it in here instead. And then we're going to take and use any USB port here. I think this is only USB 2. But that's going to be how our keyboard and mouse, you know how you normally would plug a keyboard and mouse into a computer? You know, you have a USB keyboard, USB mouse. Well, it's going to be kind of the same thing. I'm just going to figure out the right way to put that in. And then we're going to not use any monitor. This replaces our monitor. We're going to plug that in over here. And then finally, I need to give this access onto the internet. Now, this is a wired device only. This is also wired only. They do make wireless, like nano KVMs that are like cards that slot inside of a computer. So that doesn't work for me on a mini PC. Now, this computer could be wireless, right? Just this doesn't have to be wired. It's just how I'm doing it. But this must be. So I have another Ethernet cable right down here. And I know it's the one that I reserved for the KVM because I used a green one. So I've got a black cable, a white cable, and a green cable. Okay. Oh, I think my speaker got tired of blinking at me. I'm going to go ahead and turn the unit on because remember, I don't want to turn the unit on manually. They both shut off. I don't want to turn the unit on remotely. I don't care for that. Because again, a lot of the machines I will be using these on will be little mini PCs and laptops where that's not an option. I want to use them the same equally across any computer on this desk. So for you, you might want the option, so I'm just telling you so you know. Let's turn this on. And now effectively, I could go upstairs and open the laptop. There is no software to be installed on either machine. And I will be able to access this from anywhere in the world with a little configuration. It's pretty simple on this, and I imagine they're not going to be very different in that regard. However, most of the time, even a nano KVM has a little screen where you can see what IP address has been assigned. So when we open the browser, we know how to access it on our local network without any software and pretty much without any configuration. It's only when we want to access it around the world that we configure it, and even then that's really minor configuration. So I'm very curious how GLINet has configured this for locating it. Now, one of the secrets when you first turn on a Jet KVM, and I don't want to confuse you between the two models because I don't know this one yet, but what I figured out with this one is if it loses power and gets power again, it gets a different IP address, which means I can't connect to it anymore unless I come downstairs and read the screen. Or when you first turn this on, it asks you to give it a name. That way, if you have multiples, you could have 6 or 10 of these or whatever. And how would you identify one from the other? Like, let's say you've got 8 computers you want to control. So you give them each name. So I just named this Jet KVM. I only have one. So when I'm upstairs and I lose the connection, I open a command prompt and I type ping space Jet KVM, and it comes back with the IP address that I need to verify if I'm hitting the right IP address or if it changed on me. That's one of the problems I had with my unit, and that will be a separate video to talk about it. So I don't know the name of this out of the box or even if it's been assigned one. We're about to find out right now what we're supposed to do here. Now, if we look together at the documentation, I do have, and Mara has provided the link to the documentation here, and we can look through it together, and we should only need enough info here just to get us started. It should be really simple. I don't need to know everything. Not right now. One step at a time. Let's jump over to the window capture. Okay, product overview. It shows all black cables. Interesting. We'll keep going here. LED indicator. Oh, okay. So I suppose this is throwing me a little bit because the Jet KVM, if it's plugged in, it's turned on. I'm not sure I like the idea of a power button. I'm not quite sure why you would plug this in and then turn it off. This has no power button. It's plugged in, it's on. This is an extra step that I don't really care for. And I don't see an LED. Where's the LED? You know, it's entirely possible that this requires separate power. If so, that is a big ding for me. If I have to put another cable, look, all I need is 3 cables on this. That's all it should need. USB that'll transmit the keyboard and mouse and pull power to power it because it's so little and light, it doesn't take a lot of power. HDMI output so I can see what's on the screen, and an internet connection. That's it. So now I'm wondering if I take this out of here and just move it over here, there's a blue LED that lights up. I don't know how well you can see it. It's right there. I don't know why this has a power button. What does that do? Actually, it just looks like a reset button. So when I press it, the light goes out and then comes back on again. What if I hold it in? Nope. Maybe it's just a reset. Okay, that makes more sense that you have a reset button on it. This has a reset button as well, but it's one of those little pinhole things you got to get to just like you would reset many devices with a little unfolded paper clip. So my question is, must I have the USB over here for the keyboard and mouse and over here for power? Because that blue light is not coming on. And all I should have to do is plug it in over here. And I think that is just power only. And the way I'll know that is I'll get video, but I won't be able to control the keyboard or mouse. That is gonna suck if that's how that works. That means this is a far superior design. And that's why I ordered these. You know, for 80 bucks a pop, I think it's worth the experimentation here to see how their engineering teams have defined the layout, the design, because this is a really smart design. Now, the Nano KVM is probably more close to this than this. So I'm still learning. I just don't know yet. So let's see, how do we connect to this? So let's go back. Let's go back here, and now let's go back over here. And let's see what it says we have to do. Button, enter U-boot flashing mode. Reset, I see. So pressing the button, flashing blue, entered U-boot. Solid blue. Reset, with the device powered on, press and hold the button for, a long time, 8 to 20 seconds. It'll slowly flash as it's between 1 and 8 seconds, and between 8 and 20 seconds, it'll quickly flash. The LED will flash right quickly, not BIOS flashing. This is literally LEDs blinking. It should say blinking, not flashing. Okay, device A, device B, right, so there's a laptop, a tower, and a mini. Yes, good. Okay, connect the Comet to the power source. See, there's problem number 1 right here. The power should be coming from the keyboard and mouse USB, just like it does on the Jet KVM. So maybe, hold on, Carey, maybe it does. Use an HDMI cable to connect the HDMI in port to the HDMI out. Once again, there's no reason to call this in and out, just to go from HDMI from the unit to the computer. There's no reason to confuse somebody by saying, oh, which one's in and which one's out. It doesn't matter. Just connect HDMI here on the Comet to HDMI there or there, depending on what you're connecting to. It's not rocket science. Now, there's another cable. Connect the Comet's USB device port to the USB interface of the device using a USB cable. Great. If that's not triple talk, I don't know what is. And then plug the Comet's Ethernet port into a network source. What else would you plug it into if not a network source? All right, that's fine. Open a browser and enter glkvm.local. All right, let's do that. Let's open a browser and we'll type in glkvm.local. So it's using a DNS. It says your connection is not private. That's fine. Advanced. Proceed anyway. Oh, okay. All right. Please enter password. I don't want to put a password in. What should I pick for a password? And see if that takes it. Well, thank you, RoboForm. All right, so now we are logged in to this yellow computer. That's the desktop to my left. But when I'm moving my mouse, I don't think it's actually transmitting. It isn't. All I'm getting is video. This is a little bit frustrating for me because I don't see the point in running 2 separate USB cables when it should all be carried through one. I can't click on anything. This may be a little confusing for you because we have the mouse controlling our computer, and that same mouse and keyboard we're using is going to also control the yellow computer when we're in the browser. When we're outside of it, it's ours, and when we're inside of it, it should be controlling the yellow PC. Follow the yellow PC. So that is a big disappointment from my perspective, because now instead of hooking up 3 cables, I got to hook up 4 cables. Like I said, the Jet KVM, you can also have separate power on it, optionally. Optionally. They're both the same price, so why wouldn't I just want an IP on the screen versus no screen? Why would I pick this one over that one? Anybody? All right, let's see. Let me grab my other USB. And it's got to be Type-C. Great. That's great. So if I go here, just out of curiosity, I just want to know. If I go to my Type-C, which I just so happen to have, but I don't always have on the computers, which again, this I'm a little bummed out. And I was worried about this when I was reading on the pre-order, that this may be a situation. So what I want to do, just out of curiosity, is I'm going to unplug the power, and I want to use the black C to C cable over here just to see if that gives it power. That is dumb. That is just, we've already got the power right in this cable. Why are we not using it? This is strictly keyboard and mouse. In fact, there's a little picture of a keyboard and mouse. And this one has a little 5-volt, 2-amp description. There's no reason that this cannot provide power to this unit. There's no reason. Nano KVM does it, Jet KVM does it. Why doesn't GLiNet do it? So we add our fourth cable, which really upsets me. We couldn't tell, Carey. And then we'll jump back over to the browser here. Let me jump back over. Right. No, that's not what I wanted. Hold on. Jump back over this way. That's the direction. Now, because I unplugged it, I lost the connection. So I'm going to just refresh. I hope. Oh, let me get rid of the hashtag. Let's just go back. That's better. So I have to re-log in with the password I set. Now on RoboForm. Okay, now you see the other mouse trailing behind me? That's the mouse on the desktop to my left, the little one. The big one is the mouse I physically have in my hand. So there's a slight lag. Okay, so we have some controls. App Center, Virtual Media, that's if I want to like load Windows, etc. Accessories, Toolbox, Settings. Video quality, let's go ultra high. Why not? We got the bandwidth. We can adjust orientation, that's kind of neat. I can't imagine why you'd want to set it sideways, but or upside down. But I suppose if you're hooking up to, you know, another kind of a device, remote desktop device setting. Oh, this one will transmit audio. Apparently, the Jet KVM will not transmit audio, which I don't care about. I don't need it to. Again, if you want remote software, then use remote software. But you see, we've not installed any software at all. We're right into the browser at this address. I guess we don't need to know the IP address because they're using a DNS entry here. So I guess. Language, color mode, light or dark. What's under toolbox? Clipboard, that's for cutting and pasting things. Wake on LAN, that's pretty standard. Terminal, okay, it's if you're wanting to get into the development side of things. Accessories, I guess that's what the other USB port is for, is if I plug my utilities flash drive in, I guess I could access the utilities on my flash drive on the machine I want to install the utilities on. And then on top of that, there's virtual media, which I could load an ISO image, like to install Windows from an emulated USB installation media without physically plugging it in. Just load it all in software. We'll make a video on how to do that, but not today. Then there's apps, which apparently there's nothing. So what if I want to go full screen? So on the Jet KVM, I can, oh, is it down here? No, that's status. That's pretty neat that it does audio. Okay, the Jet KVM does not do audio. Full screen. Now, it's going to be hard to tell that, oops, I forgot I'm on the yellow PC now. So now I'm going to just use it. And even though that mouse is lagging behind a little bit, by the time I stop, it's just milliseconds behind. It's just right there. And it's fast. I mean, you'll see when I click on things. So now the question is, let's see, we'll hit escape on the keyboard. Yeah, that's pretty universal between them. What if I want to access this? You know, we got all kinds of information down here. What if I want to access this from outside of the building? How do I do that? Settings, remote. Toolbox, no. Make on LAN, no. Accessories, no. Where is it? It's definitely not going to be these two. It's not an app. It should be right here under settings. We should have an option. Oh, I see. That's just that gets rid of the settings. It's like an X, but they made it look like a slider. That should be an X, guys. Okay, video, orientation, remote device. Show local cursor. So if it bothers you to see the local mouse pointer moving around, just like on the Jet KVM, you can turn that off. Then we just get the little tiny one. We don't get our big one until we come out of the box. Then you see the mouse cursor get big. When we go back down in the box, the mouse cursor goes little. That's how you could tell them apart if you choose to do that. If you're on a touch screen, you can, like a smartphone or a tablet on the remote side, because you just go to this website, right, on any device that can access the internet. What if you want to type something? Well, you bring up a virtual keyboard and tap your screen. So that's what that's for. So my next question is, okay, that's super easy to set up. It's no big deal. Let's go up here and see what our options. Full screen, cloud service. That's what we want, is cloud service. To access devices remotely, please download the client. Download app. See, that bums me out right there. That right there is upsetting, because on the Jet KVM, I don't have to do that. It can all be done right in here. So now, does the app need to be downloaded on every machine you want to access this, or is this only a configuration app? I don't know. Coconut ZY. I guess you hit plus. Man, what do I do here? Oh, it says we're online. This is our device here, but it didn't ask us to name it. Three dots. Does that? Nothing's doing anything here. Oh, windows.exe. I guess that's what I have to do first. And then it downloads this file, and I'll click to run the file. And now, if I do, let's see if I can show this to you another way. Can we do a screen? Add screen. Just a second. I'm looking in my OBS. Display capture. Do it that way. This gets really confusing, doesn't it? Let's go back over here. Right down here. So it wants to install this. All right, now you should be able to see everything. So we're just going to stick with defaults. Next, next. Wait, what was that? Oh no, that's fine. I don't know why it just says default. Normally they would show the path here, but that's fine. We're going to leave everything, create a desktop shortcut, install. And now we're going to launch this. Oh boy. The device, when we set it up, it asked us to set up a password, but it never asked us to set up an email address. So I guess we have to sign up. Or am I already signed up because I had to log into GLINet to order the device to begin with? So do I use that email and password for the GLINet login and then a separate password for each device? I guess that would make sense, but I don't have to do this on, well, yeah, I guess you do. On the Jet KVM, they just handle it differently. They have you create an account with Jet KVM, and you can optionally choose like your Gmail, your Google account. So that way you don't have to create separate credentials. Let me bring this back to, let's get rid of some of this confusion. Bear with me for a second. We'll turn off window capture, and we'll turn off, that was our intro earlier, and then display capture. If you're wondering what I'm doing when I'm clicking on OBS, that's what that looks like as an aside. So right out of the box, this unit is not as polished as this unit, and this unit has some issues. This unit doesn't have the same issues, clearly, because we're not using an IP address to access it. So they've cleverly worked around that. However, And this unit will carry audio. This unit doesn't. I don't know why you want to connect to a computer remotely and listen to the audio. I didn't expect them to be this different. And if I had started with, if this one arrived first, I'd say, hey, that's pretty cool. And then if this one arrived second, I'd say this is even cooler. But I have worked backwards based on what arrived in the mail first. Because we got this one first, it set my expectation higher. Then this one comes in, and this one feels like it's old compared to this one. Just right out of the gate, it's larger, there's no screen, and the fact I need to have two cables, one for power and one for keyboard and mouse emulation. For the same exact price, why wouldn't I get the better one? If this one was 50 bucks, if this one was cheaper, right? We can debate about how much cheaper. You'd say, okay, I don't think adding the audio capability is worth the extra money because I don't need it. Me personally, I just don't need it. So that is much more aligned to what I need. Maybe this is aligned to what you need. Maybe you don't need any of them. I don't know. We're still expecting to get the Nano KVM. So just to remind you, the Nano KVM is more of an open source hobbyist project. And you can still get them on Amazon. Now, I don't know how the prices are going to change with the tariffs, but there's still inventory. All that stuff here in the US, it's going to take a couple months for the warehouses to empty out before you'll really start seeing the prices. But if I type in Nano KVM here in Amazon, you'll just do a search for it here. And then we'll go back over to my window capture. Do you want to guess how much it is? It's $69 or $79, just like everything else. So here it is. As we scroll through our search results, these are sponsored. That's why they're not KVMs. These are just advertisements. So we got to get past those first two to get to the actual search results, because Amazon is becoming more like Google every day. $69.99, and this includes the little 3D printed case, the circuit board that goes in it, the bootable media that you have to get as well for this to work. This is a little USB adapter that you could plug into your computer to control it on and control power. So it's not sold separately. So for 70 bucks, it's actually a better deal than both of these, because to control the power with the little ATX board costs more as an add-on item. And here it looks like they're including this. From the way it looks like you take a USB cable and plug it into one end of this, and then plug the other end into the power connectors on your motherboard. But with a mini PC or a laptop, I wouldn't use this, nor would I use the other cable here. $69.99, and here's what I want you to pay attention to. Look at the delivery. Today it's the 30th of April. It's basically saying it's going to take about a week and a half. But if you scroll down, here's one for $66, same thing, a little bit cheaper, but look at the delivery date. This one's going to take about a month to 6 weeks. This is one of the add-in cards I talked about that has Wi-Fi. So if you wanted to remotely control a specific tower and you have no use for controlling anything else, you could consider one of these. These are a little bit more money, and yes, they have a little screen on them, don't they? Yeah, right there's a little digital screen, so you can see your IP address right down there. And this looks like it has a video output to your screen, and then you can put wired Ethernet or wireless on there. And it's pretty tiny. This is the same device, just two different angles. On the right, it looks large, and on the left, it looks tiny. Or are they two different things? Let's see. This says it's a remote control. Oh, they're two different things. Okay, my bad. They are two different cards. This one looks like it's got two USB-Cs along with Ethernet, and this one has wireless. Okay, so there's a couple different versions or flavors. But I'm sure, are you just getting one or the other, or do you get them both this price? Because it shows both. Maybe it's the same unit. Boy, those pictures make it tough to determine. Is there? Okay, here's what's in the box. There's just a PCIe version. There's the PCIe with Wi-Fi. There's a power over Ethernet powered one, which I don't know why wouldn't it get just power from the PCIe? That doesn't make any sense. Unless this is, no, I don't understand why that's there. Along with all these accessories, and then over here with these accessories. Again, nothing I'm interested in personally, but here they're showing it installed in a smaller desktop computer, and then they're controlling it with the laptop. I don't know why they're side by side, but it's a hard thing to maybe explain in photos, right? And then there's a little more. So this is a company called Siped. I'm not sure how you say that. And they're the same ones who make that little nano KVM, and it's a company called UYE2 that's seller. That's the seller as far as I could tell. And Siped is the manufacturer. Oh, and look, GLiNet came up. Look, GLiNet is great with these little mini routers. Not so much on the KVM, but this is an early pre-order. There's lots of room for them to improve it between now and then, and this is the kind of feedback they're essentially looking for. So anyway, when you're seeing the Siped Nano KVM, you'll also see they have a light version of this, which is somewhere in here. Here's one for $63. Once again, they're going to look at the charge for delivery. It's not free delivery, and look how long it's going to take to get it. So you say, oh, this one's cheaper. It isn't, because when you add on the shipping price and wait longer, why would you order this one? These are all different sellers, all selling the same things. But Carey, here's one that's only $65. This does not go over Ethernet. That is not an Ethernet port. That is a USB port if you want to control the computers via a USB cable. One or the other. You cannot have both. So this doesn't appeal to me at all. Stop looking for the cheapest price. $75 over here for the exact same thing. Delivery would be in 2 to 3 weeks, but it's free delivery. And there's an 8% off coupon, which will take off about $7. Oh, that's about the same price when it all works out. Here's another one from another seller. Once again, deliveries in about 2 weeks and no discount. So that one you're going to pay $7 more for no reason. Oh boy. So the Nano KVM Lite. Now, if you're somebody that likes projects, let's go back up here and type in the word LITE. They have this little project board. It's $40, and in fact, with 5% off, it's like $47 or something. But it's this little teeny tiny board, and on one end of it is your USB-C and HDMI, and the other end is your Ethernet. That's all you get. This does not function on its own. You have to add a small memory card. You have to go to GitHub and download the project file. You have to put the project file correctly onto the micro SD card, install the micro SD card into this little circuit board. And if you want the little housing, you have to print that out or make it yourself or buy it pre-made from somebody else, which they sell it in white and in black, or you can download the slice file, I guess, and do it yourself. This is a very hands-on project home lab idea. You don't have to put it in a box, by the way. You could just leave the circuit board out and exposed if that's your jam. You can just hook it up raw. However, you'll see even the Nano KVM has a little digital screen on it. Granted, nobody's screen looks as good as the Jet KVM, but you know what? It doesn't really matter because once you get the IP address, you don't need to look at it anymore. Again, we have a power button on the Nano KVM. Why would we ever turn it off? I don't know why there is a power button there. It should always just default to on at all times. Because if you're remoting in somewhere and it loses power, and then power comes back on, and you cannot remote back in until somebody hits the power button, that is a bad design. I mean, you're remoting in because you're not there. That's the whole point of it. Okay, so That being said, let me jump back over to the chat and see what you guys have been saying, because I have been in my own little groove over here. Richard DeFries joins us and says hello. Mortant, having a birthday? Happy birthday, Mortant. Right on, April 30th. Mortant, renewed membership. Now a member for 35 months. This is hello, Carey and Mara and everyone in the chat. I'm late to the party. Today is my birthday. Say happy birthday to Mortant, everybody. Gilberto Gonzalez says hello. There's John Williams and Zooster joining us. Let's see. Ben Laird says hello from Scotland. Just try to catch up. I'm going through some of the past chat messages I've missed, so hang on there for a minute while I get caught up. Macca Cameron says Carey has a 5 cable limit. It's 3. I have a 3 cable limit. Mecca Cameron said, I think this is going to get a 2-star review. Don't be unfair when it comes to reviewing a product that is like a pre-order, first generation. You are essentially agreeing to an unfinished product. Now look, if the thing comes out being basically finished, that's icing on the cake, but you shouldn't expect that. The question is, how are they going to address this? Because the power issue is a circuit design issue, that the circuit has to be modified. They can't update that in firmware. Secondly, when it comes to the interface, they could choose to tie into like a Gmail account, just like JetKVM did, instead of creating a specific one for GLINet. That is a software issue that can be easily addressed. So we'll see how it progresses. You know, does this become something that becomes usable to me under certain circumstances, or does it go back in the box and sit on a shelf, waiting for Gen 2 to come out where it'll be smaller, and, you know, fix some of these issues? Or maybe they don't make any money on this and the whole thing is a one-time, one-off, and they'll stick to what they know and they do well, which are those portable routers. I don't want to see them give up on this. I don't want to discourage them. But this wasn't really well as thought. This was not as well thought through as this was. That's all I'm saying. In my opinion, this has a much smarter design, more portable, uses less cables, and access remotely is easier. But this carries audio and uses a DNS instead of an IP address. So in those two ways, this is better than that. But neither of those things are important to me. In the ways that this is better, I don't care. In the ways that it's worse, I do care. I care about that extra cable. I care about the extra size. I care about the lack of a screen. I could live without the screen and just get used to that local address thing, but that's such a weird thing to type. Like, to me, it doesn't make any sense. It should be, like with this, it's app.jetkvm.com. I can remember that off the top of my head. I can go to any computer, type in app.jetkvm.com. This is like something .local. Like what? What is a .local? That's going to be hard for me to remember. I'd rather just come down and get an IP address, you know, when I'm hooking this up, and then just go upstairs and type the IP address in. Now, once we create the account with GLINet, I assume it'll cache that in the browser, and we can immediately connect over the internet from anywhere. And that's the same. They're identical in that way. And who knows? Maybe they'll update the firmware in this to carry the audio. I don't see any reason why the circuit board would have to be redesigned for that. It's all carried through HDMI anyway. So, you know, assuming the traces are there, it's just a software adjustment. But I don't know. But that's not important to me. I haven't been clear on that. Old Man 55 said, yeah, it's interesting tech. He personally doesn't need for it. No, I don't think many people would that watch my channel. It's more of an industry tool. However, you might even want to play with one. They're cheap enough just to have as a toy. Also, sometimes we don't need things we don't have because we never had them. So if we never had them, we don't miss not having them. Sometimes that plays a role where all of a sudden you have this tool and you're like, oh, you know what I could use this for? And then you wonder, why didn't I think of this sooner? That's also possible. What's more than likely is that people watching this probably just want remote software. Programs, as I mentioned, Rust Desk is very similar to TeamViewer, but free. UltraViewer is free. There's a great one called Remote PC. Of course, the scammers like to use AnyDesk. The list goes on and on and on. And that may be if you're looking to remote a computer from anywhere or in the same building, you would do it the same way using one of those remote software programs. You just can't get in the BIOS and such. These are like monitors. So I can see the post screen, I can see the BIOS. Well, here, I'll just show you. Let's just show you. Let me go back over to our desktop over here and go back to my window capture. That should open that. Okay, so let's just get rid of this for a minute. And let's go down here and go to restart. And as this, see, now your remote software would disconnect you because your remote software runs within Windows. So you can't get remote back until after Windows loads. But what if I want to get into a BIOS? Well, because this acts as a monitor broadcasting over the internet, essentially, I will see the post screen come up, as you will, and then I can hit delete, just as though I were sitting in front of it on the same keyboard. And because I didn't do it quick enough, which I would have the same problem with sitting in front of the machine with a keyboard dedicated to it, I would have still had the same problem. So we'll do it again. We're going to go start. We're going to reboot. That thing reboots quick. And I'm going to start pressing the delete key a little bit earlier. As soon as I see the restarting go off the screen, here in just a moment. And by the way, I can go full screen on this. This will really confuse you. Now, which computer am I on? I'm still on the remote computer, only this time it's full screen. And you can tell because we have the little drop-down arrow if you look closely here. So I'm going to start pressing delete right now because restart kind of froze up there. That means our video output is temporarily stopped as the machine is rebooting. Delete, 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 delete. I think I got it this time. No, I didn't. Wow. Wow. That's crazy. That should work. I'm going to try just one more time. We're going to go start, restart. I'm going to wait. Let's restart anyway. I'm going to wait for the screen to go completely black. And there we go. Delete F2. One of those. Delete F2. Did I get it that time? Let's see. Just wait. Well, we got it. But look, I'm still in the browser. See here? I am still on my computer over here. And this is just a monitor being broadcast over the internet. I'm just seeing a remote monitor. It's really cool. So now that I'm in the BIOS, and again, if I want to feel like I'm really on this machine, I just make it bigger and I can go through the different options here. I don't think my mouse is working in here, but that was the same on the Jet KVM too. So yeah, Like it says, if I want to go to advanced mode, for example, I think those instructions are up here. How do I hide that? Just hit that button. There we go. So advanced is F7, and I can't click on that with the mouse. So I'm going to hit F7, and now we've got all of our settings, right? And then I can save and exit. Just discard changes and exit. Remember, we are still connected in a browser this whole time. Right up here, I can go to any of my tabs. We go back over to Amazon, back over to the remote machine. See what I'm saying? No software is needed. So this is quite promising, but just not as useful for me personally, especially not with that additional USB cable required for power. That really upsets me, because if we go look at Amazon one more time and we look at what we would call an IP KVM, you will see this $400 unit. You will see that's an extension, so that's not going to be beneficial. This is just a little project motherboard, which in and of, that's a little heat sink you have to glue, stick onto it. This is a DIY thing that's pretty involved if you enjoy that sort of thing. Geekworm for 95 bucks is basically an enclosure. You got to still put all the guts and software into it. So you're going to see all this stuff unassembled, and it doesn't include the Raspberry Pi 4, the motherboard. It does not include the memory card. It does not include the power adapter, and obviously it does not include the software. You have to go and get all that. So this is going to come out to about 200 bucks easy. And then as we scroll down and look at some other KVM options, this is the cheapest one. This was the prior price leader at $299. And these almost always traditionally require a power adapter. They don't run off USB power. They're too big and they take too much power. But this is, there's two versions of this, by the way. This is the cheap version and this is the more expensive version. And this allows you to have a couple of devices connected with long enough cables. And this is designed to connect one device, which is all I want to connect, one device at a time. And then you got little dip switches back there. There's no reason to have dip switches, in my opinion. We should be using software now. There's no reason to go back to this physical 1980s technology, in my opinion. And then you got that little digital screen there. But this was a bargain, and I cannot stress to you what a bargain this was. Because if we just do a Google search for an IP KVM that's rack mounted, you are looking at some pretty serious money here. Let's hit the shopping tab right up here. Probably what I want to type is, not Pi, I want Remote KVM. And here's one that's $1,400, right? And that looks like it's a switch. No, it's a 32 port. You could have 32 computers hooked up to this one KVM. Wow, that's a lot of cables, isn't it? But in Iraq, not in the country of Iraq, in a network rack, in a rack, the cabling is, elegant and nice. But you notice there's no monitor on this, right? All right, that's the point I'm trying to make here for folks that are being introduced to this idea, this concept for the first time. That's the best way I can explain it. And this was always sort of unachievable financially too expensive to have in the home. And then when the Raspberry Pis came out and then someone came up with this idea, it's a brilliant use of where Raspberry Pi shines as a project box. You can use it to control your sprinklers and have software control of your scheduling or lighting or any remote automation that you want to create yourself. Or you could just go to the home improvement store and just buy, a box you hang on the wall to control your sprinkler system. Some people want everything in one interface. They want to be able to control their lights. I've got a friend of mine who wired up motors to the windows of his house, and he can just type on his computer or on his phone and tell the windows to open when the weather's nice, have all the windows open that he's hooked up, and they obviously have screens, and let the house breathe a little bit, let the air come in. And then he also even configured it so that if it reaches resistance when closing, it's effectively like a pinch sensor. So if somebody's got their fingers in there, it won't keep trying to close like a trunk on a Tesla or whatever. It'll back off, which is, he's got children, and that's really important. And he loves making that stuff. He made this all from nothing with a Raspberry Pi, a little coding. So, you know, and these days with AI, you could probably have AI write the code for you. As long as you've got the idea, you can execute it. And if you need to print up little gears for the windows and tracks, a 3D printer, some downloads, and a few hours of your time, you can create something that never before has been created, and you don't have to take the plans to a plastic injection molding facility or factory. You could do it right at home. Now that's way over what I'm interested in. I don't want to create my own parts. So when I ordered the Nano KVM, just let somebody else print it and send it to me. I'm not going to buy a printer and figure out how to use the software and then try a few times, throw a few models away because I don't know what I'm doing. That's going to cost me $1,200, $1,500 in filament and printer, and then my time. For $60, $70, you guys do it. I'll pay you. Can't do everything myself, nor do I want to. All right, let me get back over to the chat because I want to see where I left off here. Doman 2000 mentions there's an interesting review on naming a YouTube channel here. Yeah, I mean, be sure and read what other reviewers have said about this. This is my live unboxing and first impression, and I will definitely be watching some of the other YouTube channel reviews just to see if they're pointing out anything I didn't notice or if there's something I'm missing, which I probably am. I don't know. You got to start somewhere. So I need a reference point. Once I've reached that reference point, then I go watch the reviews, because I don't want to be biased in pointing out the same things somebody else has pointed out unless it's just that bothersome to others. I don't want to subconsciously convey somebody else's likes and dislikes. When I do my review, I want it to be me. After the review, then I can go watch the review videos and then come back for any corrections if they point things out, which often happens, that I didn't realize, because part of the idea in my review is to see how intuitive it is for me. Good product should be intuitive. Paul Kitching wants to know, what if you're remoting in to fix an audio issue? Well, let's talk about that for a minute, Paul, because I don't think you're really thinking this through, and I don't mean that in an insulting way. This is not a device for remote repair, first of all. This is a device for remote maintenance. Nobody's going to call me and say, Carey, I'm having a problem with my audio, and I'm going to say, I'm going to drop one of these in the mail to you, and in about 3 or 4 days when you get it, I want you to plug it in and disconnect your monitor, and then call me back and let me know when it's plugged in so I can remote in. That's ridiculous. This is not designed for that purpose. Let's be clear. If you called me and you said, Carey, I'm having audio issues on my computer. In fact, if you called me as a customer and you said, I need some help with anything that I can do remotely, we're using Instant House Call. That's what we've been doing for years, by the way. This is not an improvement on that. Where Instant House Call doesn't help me is in, let's say, for example, I want to set up a brand new computer, or I've got a computer sitting on a shelf over here for the last 8 months, and I want to put it on the bench, wipe it down, get the dust off of it, turn it on, look for new BIOS updates, install all new Windows updates and drivers. I don't want to sit here for hours on that one machine. I don't want to have to keep going up and down the stairs checking on the progress. I don't want to install any software, whether it's Instant House Call or any other third-party software, on a machine that's going to a customer. So instead, I plug this in. I don't install any software. It doesn't matter if it's a laptop, a mini, or a desktop. I go upstairs and I open the browser and I can do everything I just said. And when it's done, there is nothing left behind. There's no registries, system directories in the user folder from software I've used, so that when I sell the computer to a customer, it is clean as it would be as if I did it without remote. So this is not a one-size-fits-all solution. Remote access via software is also not a one-size-fits-all, because I can't get into a BIOS and I can't turn the computer off and on. Not that I need to, but with these you can. And with remote access, I often want the customer to see what I'm doing, but by hooking this up, it replaces the monitor, where the customer is just going to be headless. That's not appropriate. This is not a repair device. This is a maintenance device. This is something where we could log into servers, install updates, check on logs, do everything we need to do without physically driving to the data center. No software is involved. I cannot underscore the importance of that. I'm not going to log into a computer remotely so I can listen to audio on it. That doesn't make any sense. Why don't I just listen to the audio on the computer that's in front of me? I don't get it. So, and again, what if you wanted to video edit remotely? Okay, your imagination is your means of creating illusionary problems that don't exist. But for the sake of entertaining this idea that you're going to come up with some idea that actually never happens in reality, but let's just play that for a minute. Let's say I have a high-end editing workstation at the office, and let's say the office is a few miles down the road, and I want to edit videos over there rather than just have my own editing workstation over here. Because, by the way, I mean, if this is a business, how is it possible you're running a business with 2 buildings, but you can only afford 1 remote workstation or 1 editing workstation? They're not that much money. But let's just play it out. What if there were no hypothetical situation? So let's play it out. Don't worry about why. I want to remote in to a high-end workstation located somewhere else so I can edit my videos remotely, so I need to see and hear them. You don't need this. You want remote software. Next problem. So depending on, look, if you're going to work on a car, what tool do you need? Is there a one tool fits all cars and all problems? Can I use the same tools to remove my lug nuts as I do to work on my transmission? Probably not. If you've ever seen a professional mechanic, how many tools do they own? Why don't they just own one? This is a tool. It doesn't fix everything. Remote software is a tool. It doesn't fix everything. If you're a tech or you're trying to solve a problem, you should buy the right tool for that problem instead of trying to modify an existing tool, because then you're working way too hard and you likely are going to damage something and break the tool and maybe even break the thing you're trying to fix. If you can't afford to use the right tool, you're on your own. Like, at that point, I got nothing to say. So yeah, that's why I don't care about audio. It doesn't make any sense, to have remote audio. I don't get that. You want to talk to the customer remotely? Open up a Zoom meeting. Get all the audio you want. All right, let's see. What I find probably the most frustrating are when people want to paint pictures of what if hypothetical situations that have never existed before. They just pluck it out of the air. What if? To me, that's like playing a game. It's like Stump the Carey. If you want to play Stump the Carey, please don't. Let's come up with something realistic. Let's come up with a real world example of a real problem you personally are having. And I promise I can find a solution for you. But if all you want to do is sit there and make up problems that might happen, or they're problems that you read about or somebody else dreamed about on Reddit or on YouTube, you know, I'm not telling you not to, but I don't want to play. That's a game you're welcome to play without me. So it's very difficult for me to answer what if scenarios because we don't have any real world examples for which I can demonstrate the solution. I can talk to you about it in the same, well, what if this is the problem? Well, then this is how I would solve it. But it's very difficult for me to demonstrate it. And without the demonstration, it's just noise, 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 noise. There's really no benefit to the conveyance of that scenario to flood people's minds when by doing so we're pushing out the earlier information that actually matters between these two units. So there is always a reasonable and logical and practical and pragmatic solution, but it's never the same solution for every single problem. And to dream up problems for the sole purpose of trying to make a point is not making any point other than you have a great imagination. I want to encourage you to ask questions that actually affect you. If you have an issue where you need remote access with audio, explain that situation to me, and I will give you a better tool to solve that. It's not this, okay? It never will be this. I can't even in my imagination think where that's feasible or logical. That doesn't mean somebody doesn't have something, but none of you in here have it, I can tell you that. Because that would be so niche that it would be the odds of anybody needing that would be like lottery ticket odds. It's so unique. It doesn't help many people. That information, providing an answer for that to that one person is the world to that one person and to nobody else, or to like, you know, some little teeny tiny percentage, which, you know, are we making videos for this little teeny tiny group? Or are we making videos for everybody? I try to be as inclusive as possible in my videos to make sure that people feel welcome, that you don't have to have a certain level of knowledge. But at the same time, I don't fix imaginary problems. Customers don't pay me for what ifs. So I don't want you to hesitate if you have an actual issue or you have an actual use case scenario that you are considering using this for. Tell me about your use case scenario, because chances are this isn't the right tool if you have to struggle to find an excuse. That's just my view. Now, it doesn't mean you can't buy it. You buy whatever you want. I don't have a dog in this race, but you know, I'm always on the fence on whether or not to address questions like this. And the reason I address it at this length and detail is I'm trying to avoid people doing that. Because if one person does it, then another person, another person, another person. And then I'm afraid the people asking actual real problems are getting lost in the conversation and I never see it. So anyway, I do appreciate interacting with all of you, and I do appreciate your questions. I don't want to, you know, contradict myself here, but within reason, anyway. Barry Klein's asking Mara, what's the decision? Get another of what's on the desk, or? Oh, Barry's asking about the speakers. We've got another one of these little guys. I like this one better. So we've got another one of these coming, and we'll put them in stereo. And then later, if I want to get another one of those, they don't pair together, and the keyboard and mouse don't pair together. I want to try and ask the CEO or a representative of Gravastar to join us for an interview and talk a little bit about why did you make this company, what's the goal, how come these things don't communicate, how come these two don't communicate, what am I missing here, could we do something else to convey this on the sales site, on the website, marketing side of things, because I was under the impression these could pair, and they cannot. I was under the impression these could pair, they cannot. I would like some clarity, and again, just to have a nice conversation and introduce the company to you guys and explain all that. But so far, I have not gotten any response to my inquiries. But we'll give them time. You know, maybe they're busy. Computex is going on next week. That takes place in Taiwan, at Taipei, which is in Taiwan, right? And that'll be May 3rd. It's Monday, May 3rd until Thursday, or Tuesday to Friday. Anyway, it's next week. You're going to see a bunch of YouTube content creators that are going to see. To fly from Phoenix to Taipei is 17 and a half hours on a plane, and the cheapest tickets are around $1,800. And then you got a hotel, and then it's hot and it's humid. It'll be, you know, raining likely. Not a good time of year to go to Taipei. From my understanding, May is not good for this. So to fly out, you have a huge time zone difference. Then potentially the next day, go to the expo for the next 4 days. And then what, the day after that, get back on a plane for another nearly 18 hours. Plus you got to get to the airport early, right? That's almost a full 24-hour day just to go there and to come back. Plus the time, the jet lag. No, thank you. If I'm not there, start without me. Thank goodness other content creators will endure that for your entertainment. I don't even want to go to Vegas for a consumer electronics show. That's only 4.5 hours. I can't even be bothered. And I mean 4.5 hours in the car. I can put as much luggage as I want, no TSA. I'm not sitting in a tube with people coughing and babies crying for 17 and a half hours. I get in the car, I stop where I want, I enjoy the scenery. And even then, I don't want to go to CES. It's claustrophobic. People are everywhere. And it's just a bunch of TVs everywhere. And every year, there's like some, like for a while, it was all portable MP3 players. There's always been a thing with TVs. And, you know, big showcasers like Microsoft, they don't go to CES anymore. And they had a big square footage of the floor, like one of the biggest and higher. The Chinese TV maker took that right over. So when you go to CES these days, it's a lot of televisions everywhere. And then they'll have some cars, which I don't know what that has to do with CES. And then you have your what do they call it? When the person comes up on stage and they talk. Those are often really crowded. You got to get there early, wait in line. You could just watch it on video. Somebody's filming it. You can watch it live at home. Just click the mouse. You don't have to go there. Long lines for food. Everything's expensive. All the hotel rooms are taken. Taxis are all, 90-minute wait. No. It just doesn't sound like fun to me. Crazy, right? The keynotes. Yeah, thank you, Barry. The keynotes. Well, there's not just keynotes, right? The keynote is the opening, but then they have tracks of speakers, usually a track where there's like multiple stages with multiple presenters. There could be 2 to 8 different presenters on different stages in different rooms of the hotel simultaneously throughout the day. So like at 2 o'clock, this person from this company is speaking in conference room A, and in conference room B at the same time, this other person from this other company is speaking, and in conference room C, right? And then you have to pick which ones you want. You can't see them all. But with the media there, with so many content creators there, and with everybody having the ability to go live, You could be there without waiting in the line, without paying the price of admission, without paying for a hotel, without doing all the walking. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd rather just click and watch from home and probably have a better seat, quite frankly. Mark Liebowitz said, my daughter just received an art package from the EU. The package contains some paints and some powders for tinting. Okay, some powders for tinting the paints to different colors. I told her they were a pigment of her imagination, and now she's not talking to me. Yeah, I don't want to talk to you either after that. Attila wants to know, what is the theme of this desktop? I don't know. It's cool. Totally tubular, awesome, rad, gnarly. It's not tied into any specific game. I don't like that because the interest in a specific game, it wanes. Everybody's talking about Wukong Black Myth for a while. Everybody's talking about GTA for a while. Everybody's talking about, I don't know, whatever the latest release is. And then before you know it, we're on to something else. So I don't want anything specific. This is just yellow battle damage theme. So everything is battle damage worn yellow. That's the theme. That's it. Don't overthink it. Barry Klein said, someone yesterday said it was computers by DeWalt. Yeah, it does match. It's very similar to DeWalt cordless tools. It is. Maybe that's subconsciously why I picked it. Manly. It's like a table saw. That is still funny, even a day later. So again, when it comes to the fact that this is replacing a monitor, many of you can't seem to get over that. That's because this isn't for you. What you want is remote software. There's a big difference. If I'm upstairs running updates on one of these PCs, I don't need the 42-inch screen down here sucking up power in my electric bill, lighting up the room at night when I'm not even down here. I turn the monitor off. I'm not even using it. I'm not paying for that electricity. I'm upstairs on the laptop in the browser, and I'm doing everything I need to do to whatever's plugged in, but I can keep checking on it by just opening the tab and checking in. Does it need a restart? Can I do the disk cleanup? Is that going to take a while? Does it need a virus scan? Is that going to take a while? And I go back to doing whatever I'm doing, right? If I'm watching YouTube videos, if I'm answering emails, if I'm ordering some parts on Amazon or looking for the latest deal on a mini PC. That's how I find the stuff. I squirrel around looking for it. Then I can go, oh, I better check on what's going on downstairs. Hit the tab. Oh, I'm all done with it. I'm finished. So I hit start and shut down and I power the whole thing down. Then I can come downstairs, disconnect it, put it back on the shelf. That computer's done. Put the next computer up, plug it in, turn it on, leave the monitor off, go back upstairs. Go right back to doing that for another. Just installing Windows 24H2. Many of the computers sitting around here are still 22H2 or 23H2. I've not gotten back to them. Computers we built back at Studio B still have 23H2 on them. So they're missing Windows updates. They're missing that big 24H2. There's often drivers and BIOSes that have been updated as well. It takes an average of 3 to 5 hours to do each machine. So if I'm not here watching it, then I have to keep coming downstairs to check it, meaning I need to leave the monitor on or keep turning it on and off every time I want to check it. And if it's been sitting here for 45 minutes waiting on me to hit restart and I just haven't come down, If we want to go to dinner, I can use the phone and I can log in to that monitor on this computer right on the phone and just tap the screen for restart now or go into the BIOS. Granted, it's kind of hard to see a 1080 screen on this little tiny screen here. But you can do that. So we're at dinner and I'm like, oh, this thing wants to, we've ordered, I'm waiting on the food. Oh, it wants to reboot now. Then when we get home after dinner, it's all ready for me. This is pretty damn cool. Why would I need a monitor here when I'm out at dinner? See what I'm saying? How would I do that with Instant House Call? You can't. There's no Android or iOS version of Instant House Call. It's computer to computer. But with these, because it's a browser, anything that can load a browser, tablets, phones, universally, yes, you can do that. The screen is really difficult to read, but you could absolutely do it, which I think is cool. I don't know if it's practical, but it's pretty damn cool if you ask me. So we have one more of these coming. That's the Nano KVM. Some people are a little concerned that it's, Chinese spyware, which is, I cannot get over the self-importance that people feel about how the Chinese government really cares about their day-to-day actions. I find it absurdly, humorously sad that somebody has an inflated sense of self-importance that the Chinese government wants to spy on you. Now look, if you're a politician, if you're a celebrity, if you are at all known in the public eye, even at the smallest, member of city council for your little teeny tiny town, I can get behind you on that. But if you're just like the rest of us, and yet somehow you think the Chinese government wants to spy on you, I think you might want to talk to a counselor. Don't take it as an offensive statement. If you're right and that's justifiable, the counselor will tell you, and you can say, Carey, you were rude. But if I'm right and you go see the counselor and they say, we're a little concerned about this, quality of life that you may be suffering from with this paranoia or schizophrenia, we can help you with that. My advice is not to insult you. My advice is to get a professional opinion and not just automatically assume you're justified. Because I'm telling you, in my opinion, you're not. One of us is wrong, so go to a third party if you choose to want to have a higher quality of life. Or be able to say, hey, this is it, there's nothing that can be done. Go to an unbiased third party and get their opinion. At the end of the day, that is way more important than any of this. Your mental health and your happiness are far more important to me. So the Nano KVM, with the Chinese development, is something to be aware of, but nothing to be afraid of. And I just can't get over the self-inflated sense of self-importance that I am seeing online from complete nobodies. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I just mean, like, who are they? And if we don't know who they are, then what good is having spying on them? Like, who cares? So there's been some reports in California of people hiding wireless cameras in the bushes, watching for when a house gets emptied. That's a real concern. That's pointed right at you. Even if you're nobody, like the rest of me, you're nobody, but somebody is targeting your house and they want to see what the patterns are when people come and go. That's a concern. They're not pointing it down the whole block, which would also be a concern. This is an intentionally hidden camera pointed at a specific house, planted by somebody, and often hidden in the grass or the bushes. This has been happening in California a lot, like West Covina, I think, is the latest story. Now, if that house had cameras on it pointing at their front yard and their driveway, over their door, they're cheap. And if anybody was walking down the sidewalk putting something in your bushes, like a camera, you could catch that on your camera. Why aren't they doing that? Why don't you put the camera up first? Then you'd know who's putting these cameras, because they're putting them down there. It's like a thing now, and it's aimed at a specific house. That's not paranoia. That's a real threat. And I want to be able to identify what we're protecting ourselves from. Are we protecting ourselves from the boogie monster, or are we protecting ourselves from an actual physical threat we can identify with evidence? So I am not worried about the Nano KVM whatsoever. It's open source and you can see what it's doing anyway. Not only that, what are they going to see? What are they going to see? Some brand new computer downloading updates, a BIOS update? Who cares? Who cares? But again, it's your money, it's your quality of life. You do you, but that's maddening to me. It's sort of like telling me your house has ghosts. Okay. If you want to believe that, go right ahead. I don't mind. But if you think I'm going to join you on that little game, I'm not playing. When you can prove it to me, you show me. If I can't see it, I'm not interested. I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm telling you I'm not interested. Okay? Don't get offended. I just don't care. If you can show it to me, I care. If you cannot show it to me and it's only in your imagination, we all have imaginations. I have other things to do. My own imagination keeps me busy enough. In my world, that doesn't happen except on the internet. No customer ever calls me up about imaginary security threats, about imaginary what-if questions. I've never been paid for that. Yeah, I did it to myself this time, bringing up the whole comments that you're going to pull up about the Nano KVM. But there are very well balanced reviews on it that do counter that paranoia with logic and reason. So if you don't look for that, you're not going to find it. So look at the reviews if you're interested in it, and you'll see some are more balanced and some are leaning one way or the other. So I just care about practicality. So when we get one, we'll compare them side by side, Jet KVM to the Comet to the Nano KVM. They're all about the same price. They all basically do the same job, and we'll see how they vary from one model to the other. And then you can determine which is your favorite, or maybe you're not even interested, right? But at least you know the technology's there. You might have a problem in the future where you go, oh, I remember Carey talked about this and I did not need it then, but this could solve a problem I'm having now. My goal, just to be clear, when creating this YouTube channel, remains the same today as it was from day one, which is to show you the computer work I do and how I run my business. And all I'm doing is making videos about that. I'm not making videos to appease or pander to a certain audience. I'm just simply saying, if you're interested in how the business works and the kind of work I do and why I do it, how I do it, I'm just turning on a camera to show you. I need this. I've already explained why I need it. Is this better than this? Will the Nano KVM be better for my needs? And I'm just making the video to show you these are my needs. I'm not asking for your approval. I'm not asking for your permission. I am simply giving you a fly on the wall view of what's going on in the business that I run and how I do it. There's other ways it can be done. This is how I do it. And I'm just showing that to you. That's all it is. And you might say, hey, that's pretty cool. I'd like to do that too. Even if you don't run a business, you might say, hey, I could use that for something, right? So that's why I make the videos. And I think that sometimes gets lost, particularly with new viewers who just come in and they don't understand, you know, what's the agenda. There is no agenda. I'm not trying to get the most views. I'm not trying to do search engine optimization to pander. If I was going to do that, I'd just make cat videos. We'll just get a cat. And I know the members here know this already, and I apologize for preaching to the choir on that. But lately there's been some, you know, the good thing when you get new viewers, obviously the channel grows. The bad thing is they're not familiar with why the channel exists. And they think it exists for all the same reason most channels exist. Mine proudly does not. And they're like, oh, I never thought of that before, or I don't like it. Okay. Good to see you. Bye. Anyway, look, I just like to be able to show to people that are interested. I'm not trying to convince you to be interested. That's all. That's why I'm surprised how big this channel became, because it was like, wow, that many people are interested in what I do? That's weird, but okay. I'm glad you are. I never saw that coming. Attila says you never really know how people can misuse information about you. That's the paranoia I'm talking about. That's so ridiculous, in my opinion. That attitude is just like trying to control the weather. Things are going to happen. It's life. This is not a roller coaster Disneyland experience. Life is messy and chaotic, and your illusion to think you can control it, to me, is preposterous, and it's ruining, in my opinion, the quality of your life. Enjoy as much as you can the limited time that you have here, and don't let others steal that from you, and don't offer it. Don't give them permission or consent to get inside of your head. It's not real. It's not real. If it ever becomes real, you will handle it. You know how I know? Because you're here. You have overcome every obstacle in your life so far, most of which you never saw coming, and yet you overcame it. Now you're worried about something that hasn't happened, that might happen, and if it happens, what you're going to do. Come on. Is that a really good way to go through life? Just always looking over your shoulder, always being ready, because I guarantee when it hits you, whatever it is, you will not be ready for it. But you'll handle it. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine. You know, look both ways before you cross the road. I'm not saying just go through like blind either. Let's not take it to an extreme, to the opposite side. But be in the moment. Be in today. Join us today. T Money says, another advantage of KVM, sometimes my VPN will kind of look out my internet when it fails, lock out my internet when it fails. And with a dedicated KVM, I can still access the PC. Okay, sure. I don't use a VPN. I think VPNs are a waste of money, but I don't know how you use it. Maybe you have a justifiable reason. I'm just looking to see if there's any comments here that I might have missed. Keith McNeil said he's happy with his GMK-Tech G3 Pro. That's the N150 budget computer. He said it makes a great secondary utility workstation. Oh, by far. They make great. So, like a lot of times in this industry, the computers we use as like secondary, less important machines are basically old, obsolete things that nobody wants. When you get a brand new computer under warranty for under 150 bucks, that is far better in performance, in power consumption, and in reliability than the old stuff. It doesn't make sense, you know, to continue using the old stuff. Even if you say, well, the old stuff still works, the old stuff will cost you more money. You'll use more in electricity, you'll use more of your time waiting for it to process, where these budget machines are so fast now, especially with solid state drives, where even when you only have 8 gigs of RAM, they're still hardly noticeable in performance difference. Now, granted, you do have a limited number of cores on these, and for gaming, they're not ideal for that. But as something that would be either under normal consumer use, email, browsing, paying bills, social media, pretty much everything they'll do. And then the stuff they don't do well or expediently would be like video editing, photo editing to a high level. But again, why would somebody who has that demand not have the budget to afford the tool for that? So we go right back to using the right tool. And it's gotten to the point now where those of us in the industry who are accustomed to using old unwanted computers as secondary workstations, because they're basically free, they're not free. You're paying for it in electrical usage and reliability, and oftentimes even just efficiency. Now you get a brand new machine under warranty for under $150 that sips on the power. It's far more efficient. It's often quieter, and it, because it sips on the power, it's costs less money every year in electrical usage, and it's modern, it's new. So yeah, right tool for the right job. I'm with you on that. We got a stack of N150s or N100s right over to my left, your right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, and I'm not done yet. I don't have any personal use for them, but I want to show those of you out there watching the channel that may be all you need. You don't need, to build a custom machine. And if that's something you want but you can't afford it, I've always said, there's what I want and there's what I can have. These are often two very different things. And I've got to tell you, using these N100 and N150, even the N97, which in some ways is better, depending on what you're using it for, they're so inexpensive. And the problem I'm battling are people that have never used one, that have already made up their mind. They're not going to live up to their expectations. And I'm telling these people, you will not say that, more than likely, once you actually experience one. Forget the reviews, forget the YouTube videos. When you've got one in front of you and how you use it, I think you're going to find they're exceptional. And when you combine that with that low price tag, you'll probably be wishing you'd done it sooner. Not everybody, but I think most of you. Mark Leibowitz, who runs a computer repair shop, by the way, he's like me. He has a computer repair business. He says, I started watching you because I wanted to learn how to build my own PC. And you were the first one who said I didn't have to buy a ton of over-the-top parts and tools to do it. And I kept watching you because I saw that you do this for a living and you get what it means to run a tech business, just like I do. Kindred spirits and all that. And you were my intended audience, right? Not you specifically, but the idea of other people that were getting it. They're seeing, oh, I see what this guy's doing. That's different than what most of the other tech channels do. And I appreciate that, clearly everybody in green here gets it. I know that. I'm not talking to you guys. You guys clearly already know. It's some of the new folks that we get in. Those will be the ones who will be the nastiest. And that's a heck of a way to introduce yourself to me, is to come in here and be rude or be critical. Let us know who you are. Say hello, like you would in real life. Come in and say, hey, I'm new here. Hi, everybody. And tell us a little bit about yourself. I'm sitting here exposing all these things about me to complete strangers that pop in and want to give me their opinion about how they feel about it. Who are you? So come in, introduce yourself, take a seat, get comfortable, and if you want to have a legitimate chat back and forth, I'm more than happy to have it. On the other hand, if you just came here to criticize, just to leave, you could leave without the criticism. If the end result is you leaving regardless, what's the point of the discussion? So, but if we can have a back and forth that's respectful and courteous to each person's opinion, I welcome that. But do it the same way you do it in person. Because I got a feeling if you did that in person, you'd probably get punched in the face a lot. That's how it was when I was growing up. And again, not a message to the people in green or our regular viewers. This is a message for new viewers. You're welcome here. And if you're not getting it, it's not your cup of tea, That's up to you to decide, but I'm not changing it for you. I don't know who you are. So let's start with who you are. We'd love to know more about you. Peter VZ with a €1 super chat. Thank you, Peter. Mark Gaines said, Carey, a friend of mine wants me to build him a PC. Well, Mark, looking at the pictures you've sent us of the PCs you've built, I would want you to build a PC too. You pick good parts, you take good care in the work you do, and yeah, I'm surprised you're not getting that request more often, quite frankly. Kevin wants to know, does my online presence generate new customers? Yes, but not on purpose. When I created the channel, I never really thought about marketing my business. That's not why I did it. I did it to share what it's like to run a computer repair and building business. That was the only thing I thought about. Wasn't looking for any more customers. Didn't even think about it because the internet is worldwide and I'm in Phoenix. So what are the odds? What percentage of my viewers around the world live in Phoenix? Not many. Now, if I had a business where I was selling widgets and I can just ship them all over the world, or if I was selling software that you could just download, yes, that would absolutely be a way to gain a lot more customers. But my customers have to be local. However, despite my naivety in that regard, opportunities arose I wasn't looking for. And I said, okay. And so I got a lot more business as a result that I wasn't counting on, did not intend to have, but they asked. You know, someone would send me an email, would you build me a computer? Are you in the United States? Yes. What do you want to build? I want to build this, this, and this. I'll build that, sure. Can I make a video out of it? Yes. I won't even charge you for it then. Just pay for the shipping. I'll make the money off the content. And before you know it, I'm busier than ever. Prior to the pandemic, just trying to keep up with the builds, and they're all getting shipped. Every one of them. They're going to the East Coast. They're going to Florida, Pennsylvania, New York. They're going to North Carolina. They're going to like the exact opposite side of the country. Very few computers I built went to California, and even fewer stayed in Arizona. Those are for my customers I already had. So during the pandemic, there was this rush on webcams and remote, stuff needed to work remotely. And that's not really my specialty. So I helped my customers, but I didn't really help any new ones, one or two. Today, it doesn't really make any difference in my customers anymore. But it might again. But that's never been my intent. It's been a side effect that I was happy to have, but I didn't see it coming. Like, I was that naive, it didn't even occur to me that there would be that many people that want me to ship a computer to them across the country, or people in other countries asking me. We shipped a computer to Australia. We shipped a computer to Scotland. It's so expensive, it doesn't make any sense to do it. But those customers said, we understand and we're willing to pay the price. That's how bad we want it. Okay. It's no fun for me, though, filling out all the customs forms and then having all the anxiety if it arrives okay, and then worrying how I'm going to help them if they have any problems when they're, another country away. So that's very uncomfortable for me to ship that way. And I've only done it twice. I don't like it. I've had it shipped a couple things to Canada, but even then, it's nerve-wracking. For me, it's just not what I do. Mark Leibowitz said he bought an Ace Magician Mini PC with an AMD Ryzen 5 7430U processor for a client. Ended up canceling the order because it got lost in the supply chain. And the lead time on that model is now 3 weeks. Well, thankfully, there's lots of others to choose from. When you look at the, let's just look at mini PCs on the Ryzen 5. Let's do this for Mark. Let me jump over to Amazon here. I want to show you something. I want to show you a couple things you can consider. Let's jump to screen capture. Whoops. Okay. window capture. Hey, there's my camera. That's not the camera we're using now. That's going to be, we'll talk more about that later. Let's go to mini PC Ryzen 5. Let's just do that. Was it a Ryzen 5 or a Ryzen 7? Hold on a second. It's a Ryzen 5 7430U. Okay. So let's take a look back at Amazon, and I'll show you how I do it. Now, I don't know why B-Link comes up like this, because they have been relatively quiet with any new product announcements compared to Paladin, Triku, Minisporum, Ace, Magic, Camrui, Minix. Like, where did B-Link go? It just got real quiet from them. So it's weird to me that that has come up. Or did I accidentally click on, you know what, maybe I think they're advertising heavily here, and I guess I inadvertently clicked the mouse and it took me to the B-Link store. I did not mean to do that. Okay, so Ryzen 5, let's see, there's a 3, there's a 6. I don't know what price you were looking at, but this is a sponsored ad, and I want you to notice the first couple links coming from Amazon these days may not be what you're looking for, and so you might skip the first two. That one's sponsored, this one's sponsored, so maybe ignore those. We'll come down here. Here's an E2, that's a 3550. There's a 6600. Okay, so that's a lot closer to the 73 series. This is a B-Link, oddly enough, the EQR6 that has the built-in power supply and dual Ethernet. That's really well equipped at $279, and shipping is about a week away, at least for me. Camrui has the 7430. Think about this. Camrui and Ace Magic are the same company. This is likely the same computer. It's on sale at $249, right? That's going to have 16 gigs of RAM, not 8, in a 512 gig solid state drive, and not a 256. It's the same CPU you're talking about, and likely the only difference is the logo. Same manufacturer, same warranty. Okay, $249. There it is with 32 gigs of RAM for $299. Otherwise, it's the same machine, 7430U. Supports triple display out, Wi-Fi 6. Okay, same thing. So $50 to get that extra 16 gigs of RAM. That's fair. I don't think you need the extra RAM personally, but whatever. And this will be DDR4. Should be DDR4 RAM on this unit. And there's a few pictures of like reference to size here. Didn't I just see somebody holding it in a hand? And I missed something. Let's keep scrolling down and look at some of the reviews on this. Everything in the box. Yada, yada, yada. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Not a whole lot of reviews here. 7 reviews total. Not all of them are written. Sometimes you can just, you know, on Amazon, you can just pick a star rating and not say anything. So here it's a 4.8 out of 5 stars, which means everybody's nearly 100% happy except for this one guy. Is it one guy? Oh, it makes me log in to see it. When's it ship? If we want to order this, when can we have it? Today is Wednesday, and we can have it on Monday. So that's what? 4 days? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. 5 days. Does that help? I can keep going, but I don't need to. I mean, that's a pretty quick search result that we were looking for. And I think that's the exact same machine. And I can't help but wonder if that might even be cheaper than what you were willing to pay for it before the shipping issues. Let me look in the chat and see what he's saying. Oh, he says he wasn't finished talking, apparently. he located a trig key. So trig key, I think, is B-Link. He said the trig key is a Ryzen 7 5850U. It was only $20 more, but it shipped and it's on its way to my door. Okay. But he continues, the Camrui you're looking at most likely has an M.2 SATA. Yeah, it could, versus NVMe. But in most cases, customers can't tell a difference anyway. And he says, the trig key model I ordered yesterday to replace it will be here tomorrow. Oh, so you're getting it even faster. But what was the price, out of curiosity? You know, that you were going to pay for the Ace Magic, and we know the trig key was $20 more. I'm only curious to how that compares to the Camrui. I suspect the Camrui has the same SSD in it as the Ace Magic you were about to order, and the only thing that's different is the logo on it. So if you think that Camrui comes with a SATA SSD, then likely so did the Ace Magic you were ordering. That's the same model. But until we get it, and if it's not specified by anybody in the reviews, which, by the way, if I get one, that's one of the things I leave in a review, is to specify to people if the product listing is omitting any information, like what version is the Wi-Fi, what version is the Bluetooth, what kind of NVMe does it have, how fast does it actually run in Crystal Disk Mark. Just because it's Gen 4 doesn't mean it's a high-end Gen 4. So what Gen 4 is it? Usually they're right around the middle of the pack in performance. So yes, but then that's where you could order it, put that information on an Amazon review to help others for whichever unit you receive, to help other people make a decision. Even if you end up sending it back to Amazon, you can still do that. You can do both. Mark Liebowitz said it was $249.99 for the Ace Magic. Yeah, so it sounds like the Camrui is an exact match to that. And $269.99 for the trig key. And I've got to tell you, as far as quality goes, I've been very happy with both brands. Trig key is an extension of B-Link. Camrui is an extension of Ace Magic. And they're often the same price and the same equipment, and it's only outside logo that changes. Often. There's probably some exceptions, but overall, that's what to expect. He said the Ace Magician he ordered did specify it had an NVMe. And then it's likely the Camrui also is NVMe. They're not, in my experience, they're not changing anything inside from Ace Magic to Camrui. Often they even have the same model numbers and the same prices. I don't know what the logic is behind this, but that's what I keep seeing. So let us know what your experience is with the trig key. If you like it, if you recommend it, if it comes up short in some expectations, we'd love to know. Scott says, Carey, Scotland yet this year? I don't know. Nothing's planned, but we just don't know yet. We want to go. We probably need to go just to get out of here. But we have a lot of construction work. The next phase of construction at Studio C is going to be a lot of labor. And then on top of that, labor for what? Well, I have to buy all the equipment, all the replacement faucets and plumbing and etc. That's probably 2 or 3 trips to Scotland, at least 2, just in expenses for both the parts and labor. But it's a big job. And there's one other job in Studio C remaining, well, 2 really. The kitchen is a whole nother thing, but I don't even want to think about how expensive that's going to be. And so do I want to prioritize a trip to Scotland, or do I want to make the place where I live to be a nicer place to live? You know, a trip for a couple weeks or a permanent change indefinitely. I think you know where I'm going to lean on that. On the other hand, never getting out, you know, all work and no play, that's not good either. So I honestly don't know yet. We do. It looks like there might have been a disconnect between OBS and the YouTube server there momentarily. So it wasn't just you if it glitched out. We're back. But at the same time, we're just over 2 hours today. So I think we're going to wrap it up. My primary focus was just a quick overview and introduction of the GL-iNet Comet. And just as I was initially just over the moon with this, and it started to show its cracks after a few days, I'm not so won over by it. In fact, I had to fix an issue, and they weren't helpful at all. With this, maybe in usage, it'll be the opposite. Maybe I will grow to like this more, or maybe this presents unique challenges, and maybe they won't be helpful either. I don't know yet. And then I'll hate it. But I don't hate it. I mean, it's fine, but if they're both the same money, I want this one so far. Even with its flaws, I still think it's better. This one, let me have some time with it in the next few days. Instead of using this to update computers around the office from upstairs, I'll start using this to force myself to use it. I feel like I got a good handle on this one. So there's test driving a car, and then there's living with the car every day for a couple of weeks. Likely living with it every day for a few weeks is going to solidify your happiness or buyer's remorse, depending on little things you find that might delight you or might frustrate you. And hopefully, at the end of it, there's no buyer's remorse, just a little sacrifice of things not being exactly the way you want. And then you just get used to it, and it's no big deal. So we'll see how this plays out. This one, I can tell you confidently, if I could go back to Jet KVM right now and order a couple more of these, I would. But with these are made in China, and they're basically stuff coming from China is going to have whatever this cost doubled in half. So if this was 70 bucks and I wanted to order it now, there'd be 150% tariffs on the fees and everything. So this would be, it would go from $70 to about about $195. And I do believe this is all just temporary. So just take a deep breath. If you're in the USA, let this play out. It could end tomorrow. It could end in 2 months. I don't think it's going to go on for more than a few months. And things may get a little tight, it may feel like a little bit of that whole pandemic era trying to get stuff. And if so, that's fine. I mean, a couple months, not a couple years. I'm sure that it'll get worked out. And I'm not worried about it. And I don't think you should be either. Whatever it is you need, you can wait a couple months. You know what I mean? Like, you've gone without it your whole life. Whatever it is. How tough is your life? I mean, I grew up Gen X, and we didn't have nothing, ever. It wasn't like you just had to get over 2 months. This was the course for the rest of your life unless you got off your butt and did something about it. We didn't just order things and had problems solved for us by going online. We had to just create our own tools. We had to create our own fixes, and we got no help, usually. We had to do it on our own. So if you're asking me, the inconvenience of this is 2 months, maybe. I don't see that as so what? You don't have anything else to do? I don't know. I suspect it's not going to last very long. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it'll end sooner than that. We'll see what happens. But do expect anything coming from China to more than double in price. So how badly do you really need it? I mean, I've been getting around using one of these my whole career. Somehow I was able to live without it. Is it nice to have? Okay, but do I have to have it? One of the ways, I'll give you an example of the 1980s solution for this. I could leave the monitor on and set a web camera right here on the desk, like an IP-based web camera that plugs in wirelessly to the network as an IoT device. Point the camera at the screen. Then I load the camera app on my phone, and I look at the monitor from upstairs, and I can pinch it and make it bigger. And oh, is that waiting on a restart? Okay, and then come downstairs and click restart. And if it's still installing like 24H2 and that restart's going to be a while, I just go back upstairs, and I can monitor the camera looking at I can audit the camera looking at the monitor. I can monitor the monitor. There's other creative ways to get around, my need for that, but that's easier. Mortot says, good night all. Thanks for the birthday wishes. Man, I hope you had a great birthday, Mortot. Thanks for sharing it with us and spending it with us. He says that Bajan guy says the Jet KVM is still $69 on Kickstarter. Yeah, if you're outside of the US and you can order one and you think you might have use for it, I recommend it. Even with the flaws, I recommend it. T Money says, I bought mine and it showed up in a few. You bought your what? And I love it. What is it? If you can avoid using words like it and that, it would help me understand the context of what you are talking about, because I have no idea what it means. If you say they, them, it, no idea. So instead of using those words, actually type what you mean when you say it. Choose a different word, please. Phil Stodd said us baby boomers only had dirt to play with, and we were thankful for the dirt. Now get off my lawn. Barry Klein said we had to walk uphill to go to that dirt and then uphill to go back home. Yeah, well, the dirt we played with was repossessed because we couldn't afford the payments. We had to go live in a lake. Kevin McNeil said, I have a USB printer. It's a label printer and an iris scanner. I want to use a 15-foot USB extension and a splitter. Ooh, is that too long? USB used to have a limit of 13 feet without some kind of power boost. The longer the cable gets, the more impedance and resistance it has to fight against. So like those undersea cables they talk about, those things are massive cables. So is this USB type C or type A? I'm going to assume it's type A. What? And if it's slow, like if it's USB 2, I think that'll run longer than USB 3. The faster the cable goes, the shorter the range. Like a 10 gig per second Ethernet cable that's category 6 can only run like 100 feet versus say 300 and 100 meters, which is over 300 feet on a gigabit versus 10 gigabit. And the same applies with USB. So what is the maximum USB cable length? And I think it depends on, well, here's what Google says. USB cables have length limitations due to signal degradation over longer distances. Generally, USB cables, non-active, meaning they don't have any power, have a maximum recommended length of 5 meters or 16.4 feet for USB 2.0, and 3 meters or 9.8 feet for USB 3.0 and 3.1. However, active USB cables, which have signal boosters, can extend these limits to 30 meters or 98 feet for USB 2 and 18 meters or 59 feet for USB 3.0 and 3.1. If it's 3.2 Gen 2, 9.8 feet. And if it's active, 49 feet. Factors include the USB version, the kind of cable you're using, and the original signal strength that it's coming from. There's active USB cables that have a signal booster, but then there's powered USB hubs that can act as repeaters that you could put somewhere in the middle, but you're going to have to plug it into power. And then there are USB extenders, and they'll use fiber optic or other technologies to extend USB connections over longer distance, but you know, cha-ching. Yeah. So I think I'm going to get with, let me get back over to the chat room. With Mark Leibowitz. Mark says it doesn't cost much to just buy an extension and try it, because depending on the device and your configuration, it might just work without a problem. Even if it extends beyond those limits, it might still work. But if it doesn't, you'll know why. The cables are cheap. Just the regular extent, you know, a long USB cable on Amazon is not much money. So yeah, I'm with Mark on this one. Oh, Mark Gaines says T-Money was talking about a Thermalright all-in-one cooler that he... Oh, we weren't even talking about any of that. When was that up for? I guess you guys in the chat were talking about it because you see it here. Is that why? Okay. Don't mind me. It's just... Thank you for telling me that. Lawrence says, hello. Welcome in, Lawrence. Scott says, I wonder what Doug Betts is running. He used to have some long runs of USB. Doug has gone over that on his channel. He's shown all that in previous videos. And again, it depends. There's a few factors. What USB version? Is it 2.0? Is it 3.0? How long are the USB cables? And then what is it he's plugging into? I think in Doug's case, it's web cameras. So your experience with that is going to vary. These new Logitech Brio 4K web cameras come with a USB C-to-C cable that's not that long. And it's not just because of cost-saving measures. If the intention is to set the web camera on your monitor, then how far away are you possibly connecting it to your computer? And then what do you do with all the spare cable? And if that cable that's all extra just ends up being wrapped up and coiled up, it can also create another problem. So there's that to consider as well. So in certain scenarios, you can just simply replace the cable with a longer cable, depending on what it is you're hooking up at what type of USB, and not have any problems. But be prepared. Just know if something's not working quite right, you might need some kind of range extender, some power injection somewhere in there, like a USB hub, to carry that signal on further. Or, and here's a crazy idea, and I know this isn't going to be popular with a lot of you, but move the printer. Sorry. Customer called me and said, I got a Windows update, and now everything on my left monitor is on my right monitor, and everything on my right monitor is on my left monitor. Now you can log in and go into the control panel or something and switch that, can't you? I go, well, I can, but then the next time you get an update, you're just going to call me again, and and this is just going to go on and on and on indefinitely. Well, what do I do? So, well, you could take the monitor on the left and move it, or the monitor on the right and move it to the left. If the monitors are big glass monitors, you can unplug the cable out of the one monitor, unplug the cable out of the other monitor, put them around like that. Hey, Carey, when I go to my faucet and I turn the cold water on, hot water comes out. But when I turn the hot water on, the cold water comes out. How do you fix that? Okay, underneath the sink, there's two lines. Yeah, does the line run straight down and connect into the wall? It does. Okay, somebody wired it backwards for your house. That's what they're supposed to do. The line should go straight down and into the angle stop. That's what it's supposed to do. But what if whoever did the plumbing plumbed it backwards in the wall. You got to cut the wall open, find where they crossed it, and fix all that plumbing and then repair all the drywall? Or could you just unscrew the hose over here and unscrew the hose over here and cross them? You're not supposed to. It doesn't hurt anything. Now screw them down and then close the cabinet doors and now turn on the sink. Is cold cold? It is. It is hot hot? It is. You didn't have to buy anything. Super easy. Barely an inconvenience. No one will ever know. Or you could tear the whole house apart, find where that plumbing is crossed, spend all the money and time fixing it, and then replacing everything you had to damage to get at it. I'm always going to look for the simple solution. That is what I pride myself on. Something with least resistance, least expense, that's fastest, that's a permanent fix, not a kludge. It's a permanent fix. It works the same regardless, and it just saves you time and money. If I can find that, that's always my goal for problem solving. Doesn't always turn out that way in reality, but that's my goal. Can I build a tablet computer? No, I cannot, nor would I want to. Phil Stott said you could buy a network printer. Well, actually, you can turn it into a network printer. Yes, that's a good point, Phil. You can buy a print server. So I'll show you what a print server looks like. Because the answer to that may be, but this printer doesn't have the network option. It's a little label printer and a retina scanner. They don't make a Wi-Fi version. You can turn it into a Wi-Fi version. That's what a lot of people don't realize. So if we go over here, let's go back to Amazon, because this is a great subject, by the way. If we come over here and we just type in print server, you can buy, wow, that's got a parallel port. Holy cow. Well, if you got your Oki data dot matrix, you can put it on your network. Here's a wireless print server. Here, IO Gear. Are they even still in business? I actually used this before. I've actually got that. StarTech, like $50. All right, you can get it wired or wireless. So if you're going to wire it with a USB cable, just change the USB cable to a network cable. Only now you can run 300 feet with a network cable. And yeah, it should work with the retina scanner and everything the same. And you see there's a lot to choose from, although why they still sell them with parallel ports scares me. Monoprice, they're a reputable manufacturer. And these are super easy to set up. Here's a little wireless one. Look how tiny this is. $46 and 20% off, which is another, what, $10 almost, 35, $36. Good reviews, over 5,400 reviews. Maybe, I mean, without looking at the details. That, Phil, a great idea. Look at this little tiny one here. Just plug the printer into the USB port, plug the network in, good to go. Yeah, yes, I have, I'm so spoiled, I'm so used to this all being built into even the cheapest of printers these days, that adding this separately is something we used to do all the time. And I completely forgot it's an option. It's been such a long time since anybody's needed that anymore. So thank you for that suggestion. That keeps it simple. John Williams said, what if the water connection is behind a tub? Yeah, so let's say, getting back to the whole hot and cold being mixed up. If you have an issue inside of the wall, right? So in the case of a shower or a bathtub, the handles are usually built into the wall, then there's no way you can get at it without opening the wall. Usually, if it's like a big fiberglass enclosure, you go to the other side of the wall, whatever's on the other room, and you open it, you just cut a square approximately where you believe the hoses are, the lines, and you take that square out and you have full access from behind it. Do whatever you need to do, and then put that drywall you took out back in and seal the little thing and retexture and paint, nobody would ever know. Now you know. But that's far more invasive than just going under a sink. I've just seen that so many times. I've been in public restrooms where the hot and cold are they're backwards, and yet the bottom of the sink is fully exposed to the public, and you can see the lines. We'll just switch the lines around. How lazy do you have to be to say, it's good enough? That's a public restroom anyway. Yeah, I think it's probably the printer, getting back to the printer subject with regards to accessing it over the network, because it's also a scanner. Well, he says it's a retina scanner. I mean, it's a little printer. It's not going to have a flatbed scanner on it. It's quite common for those to work over the network. You don't really have to do anything any different than you're just connecting to the print server, but it may not. And the beauty of Amazon is you get to order it, try it, and you have 30 days to return it for any reason for a full refund. That seems like a great solution. Whether you wire it with Ethernet or you go Wi-Fi on it, either way, I think that would be a much better solution. Or, I shouldn't say better, because I don't know your scenario. Because clearly ordering a USB cable is cheaper, and it's less, if we talk about keeping things simple, you can't get much simpler than switching a cable. But if that cable does not work, and you don't want to move the printer for any reason, then this is another option to consider as well. So, like I said, there's often many ways to solve a problem. And I guarantee you, if I think about it, there's probably yet another way we're not considering yet. I'm sure there is. Print server, wired or wireless, longer USB cable with a repeater, which is a little bit more complicated, a little bit more money, but falls somewhere in between those two extremes. And probably a few other things too. If you can think of something, let us know in the comments. I'm going to wrap it up for today because I just really wanted to talk about this. I didn't want to open this and use it without showing it to you first or together. And now that I've done that, I can play with it to my heart's content tonight. Tomorrow, as a reminder, our good friend Doug Betts is joining us live at 1 o'clock, and hopefully we'll be in 1080p. We'll see. We're still getting StreamYard configured, so bear with us. Much like this, it needs a little polishing. But we hope that you'll join us and we'll bring your questions and interact with us. Both Doug and I love that so much, so come join us. Ideally with practical questions, not imaginary ones, but Doug handles that differently than me, so you guys want to ask your hypotheticals, I could just let Doug handle that, and I'll just grind my teeth over here. That's the great thing about having a guest. I could say, you know what, I don't want to do that, you do it. So we hope you'll join us then. And Friday, I should have a mini PC to review. Which one? Stay tuned to find out. Bajan Guy says, great stream today as always. Thanks, Bajan Guy. Thanks for hanging out with us as always. It's great to see you. All of our friends in green. Dustin Fuller, Phil Stodd, Barry Klein, Ben Laird, Mark Leibowitz, Mark Baggett, all of you. Because without you, I guess I'm talking to no one. No, we appreciate all of you because you guys, made this even possible. GLiNet did not send this to us. We paid for it. And if you want to order one, I think they're still taking orders for them, but I think I'd rather have this one for now. Maybe my attitude will change after I use it. And the Nano KVM, I'm expecting that Tuesday, I think. And then we'll take a look at that no differently than we did these two. And then finally, we'll put them all side by side, and I'll tell you what my conclusions are for my needs and the price I paid and what's available to even buy right now. The Nano KVM, you can actually order on Amazon and get it. They're all about the same price. So we're going to see more and more of these We'll talk about this next year, and I'll probably have like 12 of them. You watch. And all of the new ones will be way better than these. These are just concept models. Just wait till they get better. I was going to check on my phone. GLINet lets me know that my order arrived. I just got the email. Corey Fruitman, I guess, has extended the $7 offer on Instant House Call. $7 for a full year of Instant House Call, 100% functional with all features enabled for new customers or returning customers only. So if you used to use it or you've never used it before, $7 for an entire year subscription to the full working Instant House Call with no restrictions. Check it out at instanthousecall.com. That's not a paid placement. I use the product. I like it. So, of course, I'm going to tell you about it. Even if I'm not profiting from it, I profit from you guys appreciating the value of the information. If you find it valuable, that's my reward. And, of course, our friends at SCD Keys. We talk about that a lot. I think I'm going to have to show a video because I've been getting some questions about how do I download it? How do I activate it, being Windows or Microsoft Office? Now, SCD Keys also sells the LTSC versions, the long-term service contract versions that I am opposed to, and so I do not promote them. But for the sake of transparency, there's nothing illegal about you owning it. I don't want to support anybody who's got that. However, if you want to save money and acquire it through illegal means, SCD Key does offer it despite my lack of promoting it. It's there, and the coupon code of Carey will get you 30% off of that price too. If that's the path you want to go down, you're welcome to go down it without me. I'm not here to tell SCD Keys what they can and can't sell. There are certain products that I avoid talking about because I don't personally recommend them, but that doesn't mean they're doing anything wrong, okay? And if you choose to go down that path, I'm not suggesting you're doing anything wrong. I just don't want to join you. Is that okay? You get it? But the Carey discount code at 30% off still works. So what I think I'll do is I'll make a video maybe using one of the Microsoft Office versions, like Office 2016, Office 2019. The problem is they expire October 14th for support this year. Same with Windows 10. Then we could do Office 2021, but that expires next year in October. So that leaves us with Office 365, which pretty much I think you have to subscribe to. And they sell it there too. But I don't like the idea of having a Microsoft account. So I'll come up with something. I'll figure it out. But in the meantime, if you want to see that, let me know. Tell me in the comments. Because if it's just my imagination that I think you want to see it, the video may not perform well, and I could have spent that time doing something else. On the other hand, if the interest is far greater than I think it is, I will prioritize getting it done. You need to tell me. In the meantime, if you want a discounted legal license key for Office or Windows, all the links are in the video notes below the video. It is a 30% off coupon code, Carey, that you may choose if you want to save 30%. Maybe you don't want to. Maybe you want to spend the regular price. Go ahead. I'm not making commission on it, okay? Just trying to save you some money. Thank you for watching. Thanks, of course, to Mara for all the work she does behind the scenes. And thanks for hanging out and interacting with me today. We'll see you all again tomorrow at 1 o'clock with our good friend Doug Betts with the YouTube channel, Live Windows Training with Doug Betts. We hope you'll join us then. Until next time, bye for now.